If elevators hadn't been invented, all the source and important people would have their offices on the first floor as a sign of status.
That's what high-rise housing was like before the elevators were invented. Cheapest accommodations on the top floor. Before elevators, the second floor was considered the most desirable and referred to as the bel étage, or piano nobile. First floor would have all the traffic of a building flowing through it, while the second could be more secluded with all foot traffic relegated to staircases. If elevators hadn't been invented, I doubt there'd be any 88-floor buildings, and you would have to be at work an hour early to climb the stairs on your own time. That's how it worked in Rome. The higher floor you lived on, the poorer Roman you were. This was also due to safety. You're less likely to die in a fire if you're on the first floor.
Tom and Jerry is one of the most distinct case of child vs. adult perspective, in which as a child, you think Jerry is witty and correct, but as an adult you see that Tom is being bullied by Jerry, whilst attempting to live his life as a normal house cat.
In all fairness, Tom is really just trying to do his job. The reason he is so bent up about catching Jerry is due to him being abused with a broom, if I remember correctly, by his owner, since he is unable to catch Jerry. I think that he's mainly trying to get Jerry so that once it's done he will be able to live the true life of a cat. Goofy movie is another good example. As a kid I thought Max was so cool and Goofy was so lame. But I rewatched it a year or two ago, and the way he treats his dad, who is just trying to bond with him and give him a good life. I really look at Max as a stupid little shit now. Anyone remember that one episode that took place in France, and Tom's life depended on him catching Jerry at the very end of the episode? Jerry watches a guillotine fall in the distance on what is implied to be Tom. That shit traumatized me. Just like that 70s show, I rewatched it as an adult. Eric was a real dumbass. And the refrigerator brand is Coldernal. Never got that until I was an adult.
It's funny how, as you progress through college, they require you to write longer and longer papers. Then you get to the professional world and no one will read an email that's more than 5 sentences.
The PowerPointization of communication, Max. 5 bullets per thought. I learned a long time ago that if I do an email like this, 1.1 requires your attention. 2. Hey, can you update me on X? That would quite literally never have an answer on number 2. So now I send them as separate emails. This goes back even 20 years ago. It's not a new phenomenon. I had a professor once who would have a paper due that was 10 plus pages. Then make you explain the whole thing to him in 2 minutes or less the day it was due. I don't know that he ever actually read the papers, but he explained the reason he did this as being exactly what you're talking about. He wanted us to become the expert on a subject and then have to quickly and efficiently explain it to someone else in such a way that they understand enough to get by. Because that's basically what you have to do at work in a real job. Removed. Middle school. You need to learn to use citations. They won't let you get away with that in high school. And NBSP. High school. You need to learn how to make a proper bibliography and cite with OBA formatting. They won't let you get away with that in college. And NBSP. College. You need to learn to use footnotes for each specific claim you make or work you paraphrase. They won't let you get away with that in the real world. An NBSP. Real world. You pasted this sentence into an Excel spreadsheet and you used a formula. It's gotta be true. Quote.
If it weren't for movies, the average person would probably have no idea what an elevator shaft looks like.
And if it weren't for video games, I would have no idea that there are conveniently placed, human-sized air vents on the sides of the elevator shaft that are easily accessible through the escape hatch in the elevator ceiling. My first time in an elevator shaft, I was surprised by the lack of pristine lighting, lens flares and opportunities for heroism. Edit. Thanks for the gold. For the record, I have only stared down a long shaft but have never actually gotten my hands dirty. They still don't. Knowing the movie industry, I will be highly surprised if the elevator shaft actually looked like what they show in the movies. Today we salute you, elevator repairman, for getting your hands dirty with the up and down cables that carry our lazy asses to the second floor. Even though the stairs are faster, the average folk do not reflect enough on the sacrifices that you endure. Yet little do they know the whimsical landscape of the elevator shaft that you lay your gaze upon daily. I dropped my keys down an elevator shaft at Target once. It really ruined my day.
Due to it almost only being populated by researchers, Antarctica is technically the continent with the highest average IQ and education.
Also has a pretty high chance of getting stabbed for spoiling endings of books. Also the lowest risk of forest fires. And the most penguins. How do you get a job there as like a janitor? Certainly it is hard to find support staff, right? To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to live in Antarctica. The polar bears are extremely subtle, and without a solid grasp of theoretical biology, most of the penguins will go over a typical viewer's head.
If you're no longer covered by your parents' health insurance, your manufacturer's warranty is over.
Can I get a replacement face since the original came broken, removed, and cue the emergencies? Much like a car, things start falling apart just as soon as the coverage is up. As somebody who just lost their parents' insurance today, this hits pretty hard.
Kids shows led us to believe the mayor of your city was way more important and much more common to see around town than they are,
and frequently got involved in everyday police work. I live in a city with a population of around 90,000. Our mayor is literally at everything. I bet I see him at least 34 times a month in public. My kids would definitely know him if they saw him because he shows up at a lot of school functions. Can't remember ever seeing the mayor so much. He's honestly a really great guy though, and it makes the city not feel so big. Used to see my small city mayor walking down the street drunk all the time on his way back from the bar. My town's mayor sent his kids to my elementary and his oldest son always won the goddamn talent shows. But he running around passing out keys to everybody.
The fatter you are, the better chance you have at winning in Spin the Bottle.
Is there ever truly a winner in Spin the Bottle? Disclaimer, skill not transferable to Twister. Will Fat Tony win the game? Fat chance. Or losing, depending on your perspective. Okay, Phil, it's your turn. I don't want to play this anymore. You're just mad because it keeps landing on me. That's because, look, I get it. Okay, I'm a bit bigger than most people. No, you don't have to lie to me. I have a mirror. I notice when my pants don't fit. It's just that, really, you aren't going to offend me. There's just a higher chance of it landing on me. Right. There's also the fact that we're the only two people playing. ... Well, yeah, nobody else wanted to. ... See? Anyway, go ahead and spin, Phil.
If society collapsed, Amazon warehouses will be fought over fiercely for being giant real-life loot boxes.
Careful not to wake up the little metal murder dogs. Imagine you starve for a week. Found Amazon warehouse. Try open some crates to find something useful. Find crate full of B-movie Blu-ray. I would have thought supermarket warehouses would be a better bet. Lots of food. I'd take over a dog food factory. Yeah, it won't taste great, but not many people are going there first and you could live for a long time on those rations. Yeah, post-world collapse. I want 50,000 Fire TV sticks.
If everything goes smoothly, you probably won't remember today.
Not if it goes smooth enough. Honestly, I'll probably remember today at very random times throughout the future because I'll randomly think of this post now. Edit. With all of the attention this comment has gotten, I couldn't forget it even if I wanted to. When you do things right, people won't be sure you've done anything at all. That's my theory on weddings. Embrace mistakes and minor disasters. It is those that make the day memorable to others. And you. Everyone still talks about the blizzard the night before my wedding and how the hotels lost power. And people had to shovel themselves into the ceremony and all our fancy clothes got a bit dirty. Good times. If it all went smoothly, no one would have remembered that missed weekend of theirs. I think about this a lot. Looking back over life of 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, how is so much forgotten I lived each of those hours. This is why we shouldn't sweat the petty stuff, unless it's big enough to worry about tomorrow or a week from now. Don't stress it today. Later you won't remember it. We only remember the big things.
Bottled water companies do not produce water, they produce plastic bottles.
You're basically paying for the convenience of water storage and transport, not for the water or even the bottles. They cost pennies. Either way, airport security doesn't like them. There is a famous Chinese bottled water brand whose commercial says, "We don't produce water. We are just nature's porters." Evian is naive spelled backwards. Next you're gonna tell me GameStop doesn't create games.